Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time in the booming metropolis just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, known as Ambler, PA. Thursday, noon Eastern time, you know what that means. It is time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, talent management, human resources as a whole, recruiting, skills, everything in between. And we're going to be diving quite deeply into skills today to promote our upcoming Skills Day. But before we get into that, of course, I am your host, Devin Foster, and Talent Experience Live is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion find the right work. That's why we have this program every single Thursday, why we host Skills Day coming up on December the 11th, why we have been to every single HR tech event under the sun this past fall, and will continue to next fall and the fall after that. And you may be asking yourself, attending events, hosting TXLs, that's all good and well, but how does that help 1 billion people find the right work? And let me tell you, the way that we do it is through our intelligent talent experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, recruiters achieve next level productivity and efficiency, and managers, well, they get to build better teams through data analytics and automation. Of course, all of this is powered by the buzzword of the century, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if any of that interests you at all, don't walk to phenom.com, but please wait till after the show, because as I mentioned, we have a good one today. We are talking about Skills Day 2.0, turning your data into action. I mentioned Skills Day is coming up on December the 11th. We did it last year with some great success. We're very excited about it. And it's bigger and better than ever, just like everything else that we do, including I Am Phenom will be bigger and better. So why wouldn't Skills Day? Today, we are here to kind of give you a sneak peek, tease what's going to be talked about, and really why you should attend and who you should attend. And I have someone who is well prepared on the subject, an expert in his industry, and is super excited to have him on the program. Welcome, Mike DeMarco. How are you, dude?
Devin Foster, man.
Good to see you, man.
Dude, right on. You're throwing around some real nice compliments. Like at the jump, man. I appreciate you.
Well, I mean, you make it easy, right? I don't have to lie about any of it. Mike, how are you doing, man? First of all, thank you for filling in for me a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to sit on the other side of the table to experience what that is like. Much respect to you, man, for doing what you do. It's very different on the other side of that.
The hot seat, it gets a little warm, but it's all right. It just makes us stronger. Mike, I'm excited about Skills Day coming up.
Yeah, man.
I know last year I had John Deal sitting here chatting about it. Yeah. So I want to ask you, why is everyone continuing to talk about skills? We said that it was a buzzword last year. It seems like it's here to stay. Help me understand why it's here to stay and maybe what's changed over the past year.
No, definitely. So I think last year really was the advent of skills and of really starting to think about how can we really get granular with the way that we approach work, the way that we approach roles, the way that we approach talent development. And so folks are accepting this as the new reality and the way forward, actually to make better hires and to grow talent better. And we'll talk a lot more about that. Mm-hmm. But really what's been impressed upon me has been just hearing from different organizations sharing how folks are buying into skills data. Like folks believe in the power that it's going to bring to unify organizations, especially large enterprises. But the questions are starting to revolve around, how can I actually make this practically work for my business? How can I communicate this out to the other folks in my teams to start adopting and adapting? How can we create a common language for our organization that we use to go out and get that talent, that we use to grow that talent and to retain that talent, and to also prepare for the future as well? So it's really about taking that next step of moving from like this theoretical idea, but putting it into practice, right? Yeah. Like, how are we going to walk this thing out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. With any technology adoption, it requires a change in thought process, right? I think last year we talked about kind of the concept, how it could be applied, how building out a skills ontology could be done in a shorter period of time than manual work that could take 2 to 3 years. And I equate it to kind of this is an out of the box analogy, but adopting new technology, implementing something new is a lot like Easy Pass on the highway, right? I remember when there was the first one that popped up, You didn't have to get your cash out. Now there's entire lanes. Some bridges, tolls, and things don't even allow you to stop in there.
Dude, I mean, just getting back over the Walt Whit. I mean, there are very, very few lanes that are still taking cash. And, you know, just to kind of further build out on that as well, you know, it takes time to adopt, but then it takes time to get that change going, to get people into actually saying, you know what, this Easy Pass thing, it's actually going to work for me. And you kind of always start with like, all right, how can we kind of break ground here? How can we get going with this adoption, right? And so like for Easy Pass, like it became really, really clear, like we need to just save money on keeping people in these booths, collecting 35 cents on the parkway. But that we actually need to like get people moving faster and actually getting them through, you know, those tolls quicker. And so like when thinking about skills, I'm going to cut to the chase about it. Like the initial focus was around talent management, right? Like how can I look at my team? How can I see what they can do? How can I understand what are the goals that I need to achieve to make my team successful? And then how can I get them there and upskill them? But really that conversation doesn't just affect one spot. It affects entire organizations. And so it's really taking that data, making it work for your whole organization. Because at the end of the day, right, your people are your most valuable assets. They're the folks that are keeping the lights on. They're the folks that are making the changes, the impact for your business, making those customer connections. The way that you evaluate those folks, the way that you get to know them is by what they can do. And making sure that they're prepared to do their job well, but to also grow.
Absolutely. And let me just tell you, I know you've had Easy Pass for a long time because there isn't a toll in this nation that is 35 cents anymore. So you certainly have been using Easy Pass for quite a while.
I think I straight up dated myself.
Please, I remember the days I'd pull up to a toll booth. I didn't have 35 cents. I'd throw out a couple nickels and pennies, miss the can, and then hit the horn and drive on. So
dude, you did that trick too?
You have to. Right?
I got
it's
down
a Jersey
to,
trick.
I got down to Ocean Grove many times.
Yes, absolutely.
So
well, we're gonna move on from tolls real quick.
Exactly.
I want to ask you, what makes this year's Skills Day different? I mentioned it's bigger, it's better, it's got all the bells and whistle. What specifically makes it different in your eyes?
Yeah, what's making it different is that we are. I alluded to it in the beginning, right? It's about moving past talent management, starting to think about your talent acquisition teams, how they can start applying that skills data and to use that in the way that they start to attract, the way that they start to reach out to talent, the way that they start to talk to folks. It helps your business partners as well. So one of the things I'm really excited about is that we're really going to set up the day to really set the table of where folks are at. And so right from the jump, you're going to be hearing from the Phenom team, and we're going to be sharing with you some of the best practices that we've been able to see and how organizations are starting to think about the data challenges that they're facing and what they're doing to bring it in. And so PwC is going to be joining us, a world leader who has very, very complex business structure. And they're going to be sharing how they moved away from looking at skills within talent management, but then to using it as their common language spread throughout their entire organization. But also on top of that, a part of the very, very beginning of the day is that we're going to hear also from our partners over at Deloitte. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Deloitte's going to really set the table for us about how can you start using skills data to look into your organization, see where it wants to go, and backing into it with that data to provide the human manpower to be able to get to those goals. It's all about connecting that data to business process and business outcomes.
Yeah, and you talk about their integrating skills data. It sounds good and well. It has to be a challenge for organizations, right? What does it typically mean when we look at a skills ontology? We say, all right, we have X amount of people who are good at this skill, X amount of people who are good at this skill. How does that actually assist the organization down the line and help them grow?
Yeah, I mean, well, you could just totally jump in, and by having that data centralized, you can start creating those personalized career paths for people.
Okay.
One of the largest challenges that organizations are facing right now is that folks are not feeling as if they have a sense of how to provide active career paths for people. Over 90% of organizations are really, really concerned about that. And over 50% of employees right now, they're saying that they don't know if their organization has a clear plan for them moving forward. And so folks are needing to think of new ways in order to keep these people engaged and keep them,
locked into the organization. And I think it's vital because I look at my career path and I look at, some of my friends here at this organization, their career path. It's not linear, right?
No.
And the traditional way we've looked at career paths is there's a company man or woman, they start, fresh out of college earlier in their career, and they work their way up the corporate ladder, right?
Yeah.
They start at SDR and end up at AE, VP, whatever it may be. Technology is changing so quickly and the world is changing so quickly that doesn't happen as frequently now. So when we talk about integrating, I want to ask you, why is it so challenging for companies to really look at this and say, all right, let's set up a career path for you, Mike. Let's figure out where you need to go.
Yeah, I want to think about this challenge in like two fronts, right?
Absolutely.
Because there really is the challenge with the tools, like to be honest with you. And then there's also a challenge with like making it work for your organization, actually putting the boots on the ground. So like let's talk about like the challenge within like the HR tech tools, right? They aren't built to talk together naturally. Folks are building integrations. Folks are building these APIs in order to get the data connected and to get it streamlined and to get it pushed and to have it be up to date and reliable. But those systems aren't talking about. So you have a whole group of data that your talent acquisition teams, they have those candidate profiles. It's living and breathing in one area. Your talent management team is doing it in another area. And then your HRIT team has to normalize that data, be able to manage all these different systems and to be able to tell compelling data stories. Like that on a technological level is just really, really, really difficult to do. So you have this challenge that's built into the tools organically. And that with a system like Phenom that really looks at the entire talent lifecycle, takes that step back and is saying, okay, what are all the things here from that raising of a requisition to retaining that talent all the way through and growing? Because really like the lifetime value of an employee is incredibly strong. And so it's about then moving it into your organization, right? So then I think as well, like I read this really cool story. So during the pandemic, an airline company, they were in a shortage for their retail suppliers, like as far as like getting people to work like the front counters. They realized that there were some transferable skills just by way of availability, experience, location, that they could actually take some of like the folks that were like loading bags onto the planes, upskill them, reskill them, fulfill the gap that they needed, and to make those workforce planning adjustments by using their internal teams, their internal talent. Like that, when you can start breaking down these data silos, when you can start breaking down departmental silos as well, and start sharing skills data and creating this common language that actually gets down to the brass tacks of things. Like if you think about it, like a recruiter, right? They're running point on so much data collection. They're the ones that are creating that job description. They're the ones that are making sure that the requirements line up. They're the ones that are meeting with that hiring manager, being like, what are the most important things that you need for this role? If you're just relying in on title alone and how long they've done it, how do you know what's underneath the hood of that? You really don't. Like, and also I bet money that recruiter is going to ask the hiring manager, like, tell me more about that. Like, what's the day-to-day needs? How is your team shaped? What are the gaps that you have right now in those soft people skills and those character skills that you really need to take your team to the next level? A resume really can't do that. It's super flat, but you're gaining this knowledge and you're gathering this data. So then what do you do with that data set? If it's not connected into your screening process, you can really, really bet that you're not going to be evaluating talent based on what those needs are. So now you're breaking that connection right there. And then if you go even further, you could bet that those interviews are going to be choppy and bumpy and that the hiring manager is going to be like, why did you bring me this person? Like, what are we doing here? And then, but like, let's stop being negative for a second and like get positive. So you find somebody that you love, you walk them through this whole process, you learn a ton about that person. You have their resume, you have their work experience, you have their latest certifications, you understand the skills that they have to be successful. And then if you don't put that into an employee profile or into a talent marketplace for that employee to then start tracking their career progression, to start having their manager be able to coach and to mentor and to upskill and to keep them engaged, like you're missing out on so many opportunities to maintain and to really grow your organization to be what you want it to be.
And I think it's fascinating. You mentioned that airline story because oftentimes, you think of people who work at the front desk, the people that really have to deal with all of the awful people that fly and travel. I've seen folks get screamed at, right? It's not a fun job. Extraordinarily tough to recruit for, I'm sure. But by kind of changing the thought process and allowing recruiters to recruit some folks who are already in the industry. That's some of the stuff that you're talking about where it's helping out talent acquisition, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And it's being applied for different industries as well. Like thinking through how you can reimagine your talent acquisition process using technology doesn't just impact knowledge worker roles, but also frontline roles.
Yeah.
Because now you can start creating screening questions, competency-based guides, so that you could pre-assess that talent through a chatbot when the candidate's available without needing any human interaction. So then that way your recruiter now is focused in on that best talent so that they can start engaging them to get to know the person behind the resume.
Yeah. And I imagine you can start to make inferences, right, based on someone's work experience or work history. For instance, if you're looking for a product marketer, right, and you know that you need a creative product marketer, somebody who's willing to build decks or create presentations or whatever like that, that may be very different at an organization, but you know that from XYZ organization, that's how they do it because you've had successful hires there previously.
Right.
Typically, that would be knowledge that's kind of just trapped in a recruiter's head, right? Like, oh, I know from XYZ company, they are growing and building the type of people that we want here. If you can apply that data across your organization, it's going to make some of those talent management things significantly easier. And those are skills that won't show up on a resume, right? I think of going to a college, right? There are however many colleges across the United States and in the globe. Not all of them are doing the exact same business management courses, right? Some of them are far more intricate. Some of them require an undergrad in or a minor in marketing or in advertising or something like that. And all of these things, as they typically would stay in a recruiter's head, are now applicable towards your hires and even your talent management, right?
Yeah, and you're abstracting that information, you're centralizing, and you're making that data ultimately work for you.
Yes.
And so what's going to be really cool about Skills Day is we're going to actually take that and bring it into real world situations.
Yes, which is exciting.
Which is really rad.
Yeah.
And so one of the areas that we're going to focus in on is going to be within like the healthcare industry.
Okay.
And like those folks, they're extremely hard to find that talent. They're extremely busy.
Yep.
But now, like when you could start using AI to start creating those personalized messages that actually speak to, hey, Devin, I know you're really, really creative and we have a strong need on our team for somebody like you.
Yeah.
That cuts through the noise because you connected their talent to their ability to the job.
Yes.
And that you're able to get that engagement. You're able to start creating these more personalized experiences. And so we're going to have live demos that are going to be highlighting how you can start applying these tools into your organizations to reshape.
Yeah, that's vital because you have to stand out through the noise. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you, I'm sure won't resonate with anybody. But what about those folks who say our data is a mess, right? I'm sure that everyone's data is very neat, very perfect. They know where to find everything. It's not like my desktop where it's covered with files. I'm kidding. Everyone's data is a mess, right? So how can we kind of make sense of this and get to these applications that you're talking about if you're starting with a messy room, right? A messy house.
Right. And so kind of just thinking about like, who is Skills Day really right for? Like, who would you invite to Skills Day or bring to Skills Day? Like we touched on, like it's really those talent acquisition partners, those HR business leaders, those business partners as well, to be able to communicate your story up and out. But it's all, and those talent managers, but it's the HRIT teams as well. The folks that are in charge of managing the data, managing the technology, knowing how to configure it, making sure that those configurations are up to date, and that they are running and providing the automation that allows your team to gain those insights as far as like fit score, who's the right fit, creating those better talent pools within the talent management side of the world as well, making sure that skills data is up to par so that when you are using tools like say X Plus workforce planning agent, right? Where you could conversationally jump in and just say, hey, listen, I got to start planning. My burger joint's going to expand 20 spots in the next year in the Midwest. Who do I know that can start filling all these roles? I'm going to need my general manager. I'm going to need store clerks. I'm going to need all these different folks. You can plug that in, and then the AI understands your context. The Phenom system understands what's going on and starts pulling all those data points, using that skills data, using that really, really fine-tuned data in order to then serve you up a plan that would normally take somebody weeks to even just conceptualize, let alone get over like that fear of like that like blank screen and just start filling it out. But you have something to work off of.
Yes.
And then you're able to communicate that out to your business partners, and you're able to then look at your CEO and say, hey, I'm on the same page as you, and this is how we're going to get there.
Yep.
And the way we're going to get there is not through job titles. The way we're going to get there is through really getting granular, understanding what are the roles, who are the people that we need in this room right now, and how we're going to get them in there. And then how we're going to make them stay as well. Because you also have to think about that. Like folks, I mean, it's just been all over the news. Like folks are not applying for jobs right now. And like new hires are like kind of like going down. Like there's been rumors of like, are we in this like big stay moment? And it's funny because like, so like I was just at Gartner a couple of weeks ago, and standing at the booth, like I love it because I could kind of stand back and like listen to the conversations a little bit as I engage. You wouldn't believe that 9 times out of 10, and folks would come up and ask, so tell me about skills data. That would be the opening. In the past, it was typically around, hey, how can I attract talent better? Hey, how can I get out there and make my career site more personalized? And we could do all those things, and we could capture that. But also, like that personalization, it's not just slick because there's you're entering in data. Folks are interacting with it. Like, what do you do with that? Well, you could hold on to that and make it work for you as well. And so it's really interesting because people are starting to realize that this data is powerful, but that they need help to make it work for them. And the only way that you could really scale this is through using automation, through using intelligence.
I equate it to the conversations previously. How do I get, folks in my organization is like buying a treadmill for your house, right? You're super excited. You're going to spend $1,000 for a treadmill. You put it into your house. First couple weeks you have it. You're, hopping on in the morning, the afternoon, wherever it is. Before long, it becomes a clothes hanger, right? Nobody's using it,
Dude,
right?
I got a Nordic Trek in my basement. Seriously.
Are you using it?
I'm not. I live in the Philadelphia area. This could turn really quick.
What are you trying to, is this a Craigslist ad? Are you trying to sell it?
I mean, it is the holiday season.
Yes, it is. So my point is you have to get on it, right? You have to apply those skills in order to reach that long-term goal of having that employee you first started with become a pivotal part in your organization, right? It's more than just that first couple times you hop on.
But you have, so you're talking about on the talent management side of things is what I started thinking that you were leaning into, which is like, you got somebody who's just joined your team. They're really, really excited. How do you get them to understand, like, I don't want you just to stay at this current position that you're in, but I want to see you grow and succeed. And this is how we're going to do it. And here's that learning path. And actually, if you actually want even more support to do this on your own, here's an AI career coach as well for you to tap into. That's going to, for you to be able to ask like, hey, how do I roll out, this new beta that I'm doing? Like, what are some of the best practices for me to be able to do that? And then for it to serve me up and to say like, here are some tools, here's some trainings that you could take for you to be more effective in your role.
Exactly. And this is not a Nordic Trek ad. I want to be very clear about that. But you're absolutely right. It's creating those training paths for people to achieve their long-term goals. You touched on it there for a minute. Want to talk about governance, right? How can, I know you were talking.
Sorry.
No, you don't need to apologize. This is a fun conversation. You're talking about HRIT. You're talking about HR business partners. How can companies do this today to improve governance as a whole?
And so what I shared earlier is that like Skills Day 2.0 is really all about the practical applications, the things that you could actually do. And so I think a lot of folks are saying like, wow, there's a lot of data here. Like we can really define the ways that we operate as an organization using this data. But we're going to need to organize it. We're all going to need to be in agreement of how we're going to do it. And so like governance comes in, which is setting up those rules, setting up those foundations, identifying those key stakeholders so that your HRIT teams can then have the confidence to then configure your technology to make it work for you more effectively. And also we're going to be showing you as well how you can start automating some of those configurations as well, so that your HRIT team is not just kind of like always like picking apart at these little tasks. Every couple of days.
All right, perfect. Now, we're getting close to the end here. We've talked about a lot of personas, a lot of people who are under the HR umbrella. If you were to create a short list of folks at an organization who need to attend Skills Day, who would it be? What are those titles? I know you mentioned HRIT right there, but who else?
I mean, can I say everyone?
Yeah, I mean,
can I just say like everyone should attend who's in HR? Like HR business leaders need to be there because you're going to be tasked this year with showing how your HR technology investments are going to connect directly to the business outcomes. We're going to show you and give you a roadmap for you to be able to start looking at your skills data and your data to make that work, to communicate that out and up. So if you're in senior leadership, you're definitely going to want to be there. If you're in TA and you are still in this like department silo of like, how can I start really leveraging and gaining alignment with my hiring managers and with the other folks in my team, like you're going to want to be there for that as well. Talent managers, if you want to know how you can start freeing up some of your time and provide better management to your teams that actually results in them upskilling and growing and fulfilling the needs of the organization in the future, please be there. If you're in HRIT and you're like, my data's a mess and I can't get anybody to agree with me, show up.
Show up. Yeah. Just register.
Just register.
Yeah. We'll get you the information. All right, Mike, final pitch. You got your camera there. I know you just told everybody needs to be there. Everyone needs to be there. What's the last thing that you want to say to get folks?
I think I want to leave folks with two things, right?
Okay.
The first thing is register. Register now. It's December 11th. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be chock full of practical applications for you to bring back to your specific organization. But also the second thing that I want to challenge folks is as they're getting ready to start getting ready for Skills Day, I want you to do something. I want you to today take out a piece of pad and paper, write out 3 things that you know that where your organization is going to go. 3, they could be big goals, they could be small goals. Write those out. And then I want you to go download the State of Skills report over at phenom.com. I want you to dig into that report because what you're going to see in there is you're going to see how in different sectors, from financial to retail, how job titles are changing. And because those job titles are changing, so are those skills. And then we're going to tell you what those skills are. So then that way, when you come into Skills Day, you kind of have your own framework in mind as far as, okay, how can I start making this run for my company?
Yeah.
So go download the State of Skills report, show up at Skills Day. And let's get after it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the timing as well. December 11th, right after the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States, right before that Christmas, New Year's holiday as well. Really the time of year when folks are looking to look busy. The best way to do that is at Skills Day. You can take down your notes and come prepared for 2025 with exactly what you need to know to hit the ground running. I know we're all kind of at that moment where it's like, oh, here comes the new year. Here, when's the next break? This is the perfect way to get it started, is to get your thought process going.
Before you start writing all of like your New Year's resolutions, and your to-do lists, like, let your skills list be the first one, right?
Exactly.
Like, make this your first list during the holiday season.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming. As we mentioned, Skills Day at skills.phenom.com.
Exactly, sir.
Got it.
Man.
Still got my fastball.
Still got it, dude.
Anyway, go register now. Download the State of Skills report as well. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I won't see you next week. We're not going to do an episode, although I'm sure you would all love to meet my family. But in the meantime, have a happy, healthy, safe holiday. Can't wait to see you soon. And we will see you December 11th for Skills Day. Thanks so much, Mike.
Dude,
appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
See you soon.
Bye.